And you're on the committee for the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame, and you were actually instrumental in Jeff's induction, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I was so proud of being able to work with Jeff and being able to get that to be a good night for him. I have since had to step away from the board of directors for that right now, but hopefully maybe a few years down the road I'll be able to come back again. But that was awesome to have not only a duck pin bowler inducted, but to have my friend Jeff inducted as well. And we had a really good turnout that night as far as duck pin bowlers in supporting him. I think there was 3 or 4 tables of 10 of duck pin bowlers, Washington, Baltimore, you name it. And it was a fun night. And it also happened to be the same night, that was the same year that my uncle, Jack Zane, received the John Stedman Award for journalism. And so I had a twinkle in both eyes that night.
Yeah.
And Brooks Robinson went in the same evening, Tom McMillan, Kevin Glover, and
John Mackey.
Yes, and John Mackey posthumously. His wife was there. She was a very pleasant lady, and so many interesting stories, and there was another gentleman, I don't remember his name, that went in for lacrosse, but it was an awesome evening. It really, really was.
Yeah, Bernard Williams for track and field. I think the lacrosse player was Dell Dressel, if I'm not mistaken.
That's it, yes. Yeah, from Johns Hopkins.
Okay, yeah. And then maybe one other one we're forgetting too, but there were 7 altogether.
Yeah. It was one of the bigger classes, that we had.
Plus the 2 that were non-athletic, but Jack Zane being one. The owner of the soccer team, I think, might have been the other one. I'm not.
Oh, that was a soccer team?
Or maybe it was something else.
Yes, you're right. It was a coach.
A coach.
I think it was coach. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a memorable night.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was. But working for several years with the board has been very interesting in a lot of ways, but I've also been able to meet so many different athletes, and it can be a very humbling experience as well. But when Jeff went in as a duck pin bowler, I think he was only the sixth duck pin bowler to be inducted into the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, and Toots Barger is the only female in there right now. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
But and Jimmy Deach, Dave Volk, and there's another gentleman that I don't remember his name, but he was from a few years back earlier in my career, or a little bit before my time. But yeah, so I mean, it's not. It's anytime we can get a duck pin bowler in, male or female, that's a huge accomplishment for the sport. It really is. How
does it all work? That is, when the conversation of who should we induct this year or this in 2015, and the name Brooks Robinson, and then the name Kevin Glover, then the name Jeff Powles. How does it work? Do individuals on the committee sort of go through a list of perennial nominees, or?
Yes. Yeah, there's and there's certain criteria that you have to meet as well, which is all laid out on the website. But there's 2 major criterias. One is you had to have been born in Maryland. That has since been revised, and I don't remember the exact wording of it, but if you were born in Maryland and then you had to move out of state, but you still kept Maryland ties, and you worked with your community and things of that sort, then you can be like as an adopted Maryland athlete. I think that's the phrase that we use now. But anybody can nominate anybody, any athlete. But then there's some research, some background research that goes into that. There's a nominating committee, and they do the legwork. They do the research on that individual, and they research their athletic career in whatever field, whatever sport it was in, and then also, how it impacted the community that person lived in, and what they brought to the game as well as what they brought to the town, the city that they lived in, and the state of Maryland. So there's a lot that goes into it before the committee comes up with lots of names for the rest of the board to take a look at, and then there's a lot of hashing out, and I can't divulge all of our
I understand
behind closed doors things, but it's a lengthy process. It's not something that we just take lightly, that there's a nomination form. Oh yeah, that sounds great, we'll put them in that. It doesn't work that way. It's very meticulous.
Yeah.
In getting an approved nominee, and then the board sometimes goes through multiple rounds of voting as to who they feel should be inducted that year, or a lot of stipulations come into play sometimes.
Do they have it every year or every 3 years, or is it anything set in stone as far as 2015, 2016, or is it just we're doing it 2015, then we'll do it 2018?
We try to do it every year. There was a time frame when they first started this. I think it was maybe back in the early 60s, I don't remember the time frame, where there was a little bit of a lull period. There was some transitioning being done, because the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame was initially created by, I hope I have this right, by the M Club at the University of Maryland. But it's grown into what you see nowadays, and we try to do it every year. Unless something changes financially from the financial perspective, it will most likely continue to be every year, because there's so many great athletes out there. And one of the major prerequisites for an athlete to even be recognized once they're nominated is they have to be retired from their sport.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you're still participating in your sport, then you're still a pro. So, but you're retired, then you fall into that consideration category.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if a guy does something bad the last year he's playing in a sport, if he's already in the Hall of Fame, then you might have to remove him.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, it would just maybe be a blemish,
Yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, I don't think anybody's ever been removed, and I would hope that nobody ever would reach that
Right.
position. But and for folks who aren't really sure what the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame is, there's a website, www.mdsahof.com.
Okay.
And the plaques for the Hall of Fame members are on the wall at Camden Yard. I think it's positioned around Boog Powell's barbecue place or whatever he has there, but it's on the wall, and you go there and you can see Tooch Barger's name on the plaque, and you can see Jimmy's, and you can see Jeff's, and you can say, I know them. I know those folks.
Yeah.
So, and of course there's a number of other athletes the names are very well known as well. So it's interesting to see that there.
So just to repeat, it's www.mdsahof.com.
Right. And we're working on, we used to have an actual physical Hall of Fame that people could visit and walk through and see memorabilia and things. In fact, Toots actually donated a set of her bowling balls, and we have those as well. But it was at Camden Yards, and it's since been shut down the past few years. So they're looking for a new location, and maybe within the next year and a half, there will be a new location, and we'll be able to start reincorporating the actual physical Hall of Fame for the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah, it'd be a cool thing to go and visit.
Yeah.